morning, everybody. Thanks for coming here. I know you have a lot of options, so thanks for choosing this one. Yeah, this presentation is about bringing course materials to student social media routine. That means we are trying to invade a little bit their social media space. But I want to be clear about we are not giving alternatives to the actual content, but we are giving additional path to build that content understanding, okay? So my name is Mateo Sancho Cardiel, and I teach Introduction to Film and TV here at Hostos, and I teach Introduction to Sociology at BMCC, because my major is journalism, but my master's degree is sociology, and I'm applying social media to both courses in a very different ways. So I know what is happening today with social media. I know the complaints. I complain myself about how distracting they can be and how our students are actually checking the phone while we are teaching. So I understand, not to mention what has happened recently with Facebook and how they are using our data. And of course, I know that all that I'm going to talk about is kind of doing an extra mile in our work as teachers, as professors. So yes, I'm maybe asking too much, but as a sociologist, of course, I have to check the numbers. And Pew Research is saying that 88% of Americans between the ages of 18 and 29 use social media. And 2 years ago, they did another report that was saying that 92 of American teens go online daily, including 24% who go online almost constantly, which means that our students are those that are checking constantly. And I wanted to share this figure that says that we spend 5 years, 4 months on social media during our lifetime, which is pretty depressing, I would say. And of course, we are New Yorkers. We live in the city where we are spending so much time commuting. 57 minutes every day, which some of us are checking our devices. So it's a perfect timing to deliver some content to prepare the classroom or to review what we were studying. So I'm not a social media ambassador because I am a journalist and I know what happened with journalism after all the social media came in. But I think we have to face the social media is there. And as Eric Wallman, the writer that did Socialnomics, I think that we don't have a choice at this point or whether we do social media, but the choice is how well we do it. So let's try to do it as good, the best that we can, okay? This is what I did with my Introduction to Sociology course. I decided to use Instagram. For those who are not familiar with Instagram, it's the most exhibitionist social media. But it's used, like it engaged 500 million people every day, and 59% of the internet users between 18 and 29 use Instagram. So we can assume that our students, most of them are using it. And well, I created this account. I'm linking the last news story that is relevant to the content of our classroom. And I chose Instagram because it creates sense of community. It's a very image-driven social media, so all you have to do is to share some pictures or some videos, and it works as a public space. It's a kind of an official blackboard where I am sharing not the grades, of course, not the syllabus, but I'm sharing content that may be relevant for them and connects the classroom with our realities. So that's pretty useful. And the content remains there, so you can scroll down, and the moment you are studying for the test, you can scroll down the whole profile and see, like, kind of review the content, okay? What I'm doing, first of all, I'm trying to do a very amateurish video of a 1 minute that summarize a part of what I'm teaching, with mixing it with pop culture, like it works. So this is about culture and how sociologically we face diversity, different approaches to it. Is it working?
You don't need to be logged in. You can watch it. You can watch it without being logged in.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Well, it's a video that is explaining ethnocentrism, for example, using Simply the Best, the song by Tina Turner, or using the Despacito song, or using We Are the World to explain cultural universals. So, yeah, that the idea is to connect the content with popular songs or pop culture ideas. And I'm sharing news like how, when we were studying how sports can be studied from a functionalist point of view or from a conflict point of view, I shared this news story about Adam Ribbon and how he was giving the LGBTQ community an athlete they can relate to. Or I am also reposting these kind of images that help to understand the content. Okay. So I'm also sharing concepts, illustrating them with a picture. I'm also sharing videos when we did a field trip to the Tribeca Film Festival. So I took a 1 minute video about the Q&A. I'm sharing cartoons from the Boston Globe, in this case, about the Starbucks events. And also I'm using viral videos and trying to translate them into sociological terms. I don't know if this is going to work, but the idea is this video is about an Asian boy that is trying to solve this very complicated mathematical problem, and a guy is saying like that with the hand, and he is just writing a hand in the blackboard. So I'm trying to explain what happens when you don't understand nonverbal communication. And so I am using hashtags as well because I found it very useful, because you can go through the hashtags to more posts that use those hashtags. For example, you would be surprised if you use the hashtag for some of the sociologists. You will find that you can have quotes on Instagram, you have pictures, the cover of their magazines. This internet connection is terrible. So yeah, they can, if they are curious enough, they will click and they will find other random content, of course, but you can find quotes or other covers of the books. And of course, for us, because sometimes it's not only about engaging students, but it's about engaging us too. And you can find other sociologists online that are doing kind of the same. And especially I found this one, Sociology Today, that is really using very smart concepts and very smart images that I'm using sometimes in the classroom, and I'm sharing with the students. For example, he used this image of women sociologists that were neglected by the textbooks, most of them. So it makes sense considering that we are in the Time's Up movement. And basically that's it about sociology. As I teach Introduction to Film and TV, I'm using Snapchat because the moment I started the class and I tried to put social media on it, I realized that they already know a lot about how to deal with audiovisual content. They are creating audiovisual content all the time, and Snapchat actually is a kind of a post-production tool that they are using in a very casual way. So the numbers again are with them is 50% of the male college students share selfies on Snapchat, 77% of female college students do so. 45% of Snapchat users are aged between 18 and 24. So again, the target is pretty clear. I created this account, Intro to Film, And as this app was originally created to share intimate pictures without risk, this became the most private social network. And in this case, I'm using it in the classroom, so we are filming with them. So it's good that it's not shared with the whole world and that it's going to be deleted in 24 hours. And I'm using it sometimes combined with the AirPlay that we have. So we are, even if it breaks my heart that everybody's watching movies now in a cell phone, we are translating the small screen to the big screen thanks to the AirPlay. And it works pretty well. And they are very engaged every time we use it. As we are studying ways of how to decode all the images that we are seeing or producing, we've been using the classroom as a set. And
So do you think he's dead?
I don't know, man.
I think he came back from hell. He's like talking to the demons.
Oh, jeez.
So we were studying lighting and horror movies, so we shot this in the classroom with the students. And when we were studying a POV or where the camera is situated, the students themselves were.
I didn't like the movie because it had too much action and not enough plot in it, and I didn't. Wait. You're late!
So sometimes we talk about concepts and they do the snaps, but sometimes the other way around. They do the snaps naturally and we are analyzing how are they naturally using techniques that are in the textbook. And we also use the color, music with other phones, and narratives like flashbacks. Right?
This is all with their cell phones, right?
Yeah. This is made with the cell phones through our Snapchat account. So if you are not going to the classroom, you can follow it from home.
Doesn't it expire after, I forget?
24 hours, yeah. You can download it and you can keep it for yourself if you want, and you can edit it. And of course, I'm trying to engage them when I'm planning a field trip. We went to the Museum of the Moving Image last Saturday, and I created a kind of a trailer of the trip. And when we went to the Jersey Lowe's Theater. Hello guys, here we are at the Lowe's Jersey Theater in Journal Square, and it looks like a palace. Say hi guys. So yeah, it's another way of sharing the experience and connecting that 1920s theater with Snapchat, which is like kind of disconnected, but at the same time you can put them together. And I'm sending them news from the movie business, like when Milos Forman, the director, died, or I'm informing them about movies that they are playing in the theater, that theater or other theaters that they may be interested. So it's a kind of a newsletter also to keep track on what is happening. So I'm almost wrapping up. Some best practices when you're using social media as a professor. I personally think that it's important that you don't follow them back when they follow you, because that would be a way. They are using the social media in a more personal language, so they don't want to be followed by a professor, and I don't think I want to know what they do. Yeah. Try not to bomb them with the content, so try to do twice a week maximum, not every single day, because at some point they will block you. And be consistent, so if they at some point remember, oh, let's see what this guy is doing on social media, they have something new, and make it always optional. I'm not giving extra credit, and it's just, if they want to be part of it, it's okay, but I think it's important not to make it mandatory. And of course, if you're using social media, you have to know the codes of social media. So you have to use emojis, or you have to use a little bit of sense of humor. So it's not like just put the textbook in a caption there on Instagram. And the conclusions is that I think social media are useful to embed academic content in students' free time. It's a little bit invasive, but I think it's okay if you control it a little bit. Social media are rear doors to the rigorous content. that this is important. They are not a substitute of the traditional content, but an additional path or a hook to get them into the actual content. And last but not least, in media courses, social media are an accessible tool to learn the codes of audiovisual language. That means that you don't need a very expensive or heavy camera that would be hard to handle. With the phone, you would be surprised of how many movies you could do with the students. And I'm going back to my very first day at the journalism school, and that's what I learned, that the medium is the message. Marcel McLuhan was saying that in 1964, and I think it still applies as we talk about social media. We can't forget what kind of medium we are using when we are using social media and how that shapes the message. So we can use social media, but we cannot think that that's the whole message that we want to deliver to our students. And here you can find like the bibliography. So I'm open to questions. What do you think?
Seems that this comes very naturally to you, but for like somebody who is teaching and is interested but doesn't like use Instagram or Snapchat themselves, how do you get into it without looking like a complete,
Yeah, well, the good news is that all the social media is very tolerant with the amateur idea. Like, you don't have to create content that looks professional, so nobody would judge you if you're doing something that it doesn't look perfect. But at the same time, of course, it's a path that you start. Maybe as a user, you can try. Everything here is a pilot experience. I'm not saying that this is the way of doing it, and that's my way coming from the media, the way I kind of channeled that part of me. But Instagram is pretty easy to use, and it's basically like sharing on WhatsApp or sharing on Facebook. It's very similar, but it's more just oriented to the image and maybe a few lines and a hashtag. But yeah, you have to be a social media person before you're starting to use it. And I understand that if you don't feel comfortable using it, I don't think you should do it, because they will immediately recognize that you are a little bit. So first, you have to be familiar with it. But I think I've always done a presentation about social media in people that are more than 60 years old, in gay people, specifically because that's my research in sociology. And they were using it a lot in a very different way, in a more old school way, and more, I don't know, the same way a guy that is 81 years old was sending me a text message starting, "Dear Mateo, blah, 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 sincerely yours," whatever. So you can do it your own way, and let's see how comfortable you feel sharing it with the students. But it's not that hard. Snapchat is true that it's harder, it's not that intuitive, but as is for media students, if you are working with media, I assume that you have more skills doing audiovisual content.
If the President of the United States can use Instagram, he's an idiot, so.
Yeah, don't feel very intimidated by social media, because it's really, it takes time, but it feels very natural once if you have your phone and you're sending pictures through the text message or something, it's kind of the same. So,
yeah. So, yeah, you mentioned Facebook, so I'm curious why you don't use Facebook. I use Facebook a lot, for social media, and Instagram. I get pictures and I say, stop showing me your vacation pictures. It doesn't seem, I teach science, so Facebook seems a little more organized. So why don't we use Facebook? And B, it seems to me there have been issues raised by administrators that putting class content and student comments on the social media might raise all sorts of issues where the teacher can't control and students can say things that others find objectionable and legally actionable, something like that.
I'm not sharing content itself. I'm transforming content into social media clips, or I'm sharing news stories. It's not that I'm sharing one chapter, and I have to say that they are not commenting that much. They are more just passive consumers of the content that I'm sharing. So I haven't had that problem yet. I'm not using Facebook. I understand when you create a group that can be useful, but I think Instagram for me is more useful in terms of scrolling down and have a kind of a sneak peek of what the course is. Facebook is more confusing and more text driven than Instagram. So for me it was more useful to scroll down Instagram than Facebook. And to create another Facebook account for me was kind of more annoying than creating another Instagram account. But that's my opinion. Oh, sorry, she was first.
Can it be hacked? And what would happen?
Never happened to me. I would be more worried about Snapchat in that case because we are filming with students.
Okay.
But Instagram, to hack Instagram, what could happen is someone posting things instead of me.
Right.
But the content is out there, so no one can steal it because it's there. But never happened. I still trust that would never happen. But I would close the account, or I would send a message that this is happening. But in the case of Instagram, it shouldn't be very dangerous. In the case of Snapchat, the nature of the app is to be safe in terms of it disappears the moment, 24 hours later. So, but who knows? They are ahead. Hackers are ahead of us. So,
Thank you.
there was another question. Yeah.
Just as a quick comment to the first question, because I felt unfamiliar with Snapchat and particularly some privacy issues. So what I did was just recruit some students who are absolute experts in the use of Snapchat from one of my classes to sit down with me in office hours and show me, explain to me how to go about doing it, and it's incredibly effective. And I love talking to you about how to use Snapchat. And the question I had for you was just, have you found in using Instagram and Snapchat that one works more effectively than the other, and have you ever used both simultaneously in a class?
I've never done both simultaneously. I've used Instagram in order to explain with the filters how you can really post-product a picture and create feelings through filters. But what I've realized is that they are more engaged the moment they are on camera. We are maybe not that narcissistic era, so they like to be there. And I'm thinking about, for the sociology, to maybe give them the opportunity to explain some concepts that after the test I realized that were a little bit weak on some of them, to give them that opportunity. That would be an extra credit as they are on camera, so that would be optional. But I still have to explore how to make Instagram more engaging for them, or to be able to track more the engagement, because I know that they give the like, but that doesn't mean necessarily that they are liking it or watching the whole video. But yeah, I think combining both would be double extra work. So I'm trying to just stick to one in the different courses. And I was exploring different apps because you know that Snapchat is the same as Insta Stories right now, but I didn't want to create an extra Instagram account. And of course, all the content is the first time I'm doing it, but it will be useful too for upcoming courses. So once you do it, so that's it. Thank you very much.